Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive miles beneath the ocean's surface to a place of crushing pressure and total darkness, where life as we know it just shouldn't exist. And yet, somehow, it thrives. We're talking about hydrothermal vents. So let's just start with the puzzle that's stumped scientists for decades. I mean, think about it. In a realm of absolute blackness, with immense pressure and near-freezing temperatures, the most fundamental rule of life on Earth, that it's all powered by the sun, it just doesn't apply. So how is anything living down there? Well, here's the kicker. Not only does life survive here, it absolutely thrives. These are dense oases with a concentration of life up to 100,000 times greater than the surrounding seafloor. This isn't just a few microbes hanging on. It's a bustling biological metropolis and the last place you'd ever expect to find one. You see, for the longest time, we thought the deep sea was basically a barren desert, just a cold, empty expanse. But then, the discovery of these vibrant communities, all clustered around these strange underwater chimneys, well, it changed everything, and it presented this profound mystery. What in the world is fueling this impossible oasis? So how did we finally crack this puzzle? The answer, it turns out, begins not with biology, but with the geology of the seafloor itself. A groundbreaking dive back in 1977, using the submersible Alvin, didn't just find a few new strange creatures, it stumbled upon an entirely new engine for life on our planet. It turns out these biological hotspots are powered by these incredible geological features called hydrothermal vents. They are the engines driving these entire deep-sea ecosystems. Okay, so the easiest way to picture them is like geysers on the ocean floor. They form where tectonic plates are pulling apart, which creates these deep cracks in the Earth's crust. Cold, dense seawater then sinks down into these fissures, gets superheated by magma deep inside the Earth, and then just erupts back into the ocean, loaded with this rich cocktail of dissolved chemicals and minerals. And when we say superheated, we seriously mean it. The water blasting out of these vents can reach temperatures as high as 464 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to melt lead. The only reason it stays liquid and doesn't just flash into steam is the immense crushing pressure at those depths. Just incredible. Now, what's really cool is that these vents actually come in two main flavors. You've got black smokers, which are the hottest ones, belching out these dark plumes packed with iron and sulfur. And then you have white smokers, which are a bit cooler, and they emit lighter-colored minerals like barium and calcium. Both types are what build up these amazing chimney-like structures on the seafloor over time. Okay, so we have our geological engine. We've got the heat and the chemicals. But how does that actually translate into a whole bustling ecosystem? Well, this is where the true biological revolution really begins. The secret, and this sounds like something straight out of science fiction, is a process called chemosynthesis. Basically, it's photosynthesis, but without any sun. Instead of using sunlight for energy, specialized microbes down here use the chemical energy that's locked inside the compounds spewing from the vents to create food. Here's how it works. These little microbes are essentially master chemists. They take hydrogen sulfide, a gas that's totally lethal to most life on Earth, and through a series of reactions, they convert it into the sugars and organic matter that form the very foundation of this entire ecosystem. And this chemical-powered buffet supports a cast of some of the weirdest, most wonderful creatures you can possibly imagine. We're talking giant tube worms that grow over 6 feet long with no mouth or stomach. They rely entirely on bacteria living inside them. You've got shrimp that can see thermal radiation, and the Pompeii worm, which is one of the most heat-tolerant animals on the planet. Oh, and then there's the scaly-foot gastropod, a snail that literally builds itself a suit of iron armor. It's just wild. So what's the big takeaway here? The crucial point is that these communities are one of the very few ecosystems on Earth that exist almost entirely independent of the sun's energy. They're powered by the geothermal energy of our planet itself. It's a completely different rulebook for life. Now, solving the mystery of how life can survive down here is amazing, right? But it leads to an even deeper, more profound question. If these vents can support life today without the sun, could they have been the place where all life got its start? For over a century, really since Darwin, we've all had this picture in our heads of how life began. A sun-drenched, shallow pool of water zapped by lightning, creating some kind of primordial soup. But now there's this really compelling new theory that proposes a radically different location. Not in the light, but in the darkness.
not on the chaotic surface, but deep beneath the waves, protected from all the harsh conditions of the early Earth.
And when you think about it, hydrothermal vents provide the perfect cocktail of ingredients and conditions. They have all the raw chemical building blocks you'd need, they've got a constant source of energy, and the mineral surfaces could have acted as catalysts to help organize simple molecules into more complex ones. Plus, they would have shielded that fragile early life from the intense UV radiation and constant meteorite bombardments that were hammering the planet's surface billions of years ago. What's just mind-boggling is that this science is incredibly new. And as we learn more, we're faced with both these exciting possibilities for the future, but also some very, very difficult choices about how we interact with this hidden world. Just take a look at this timeline. It really puts into perspective how recent all this is. We literally didn't even confirm these things existed until 1977. Major discoveries like finding the deepest and most remote vents are still happening right now. We have barely scratched the surface of what's down there. And this brings us to a very modern conflict. On one hand, these vents are our best guide for where to look for life beyond Earth, on ocean moons like Europa and Enceladus. On the other hand, the very minerals that form here, gold, copper, zinc, are incredibly valuable. And that's made these hydrothermal vents a prime target for the new industry of deep-sea mining, which poses a direct, existential threat to these delicate and still largely mysterious ecosystems. So, this leaves us with a final and pretty provocative question. As we stand at the edge of this new deep frontier, how do we possibly balance the drive for discovery and resources with the need to protect what could be the very blueprint for life itself? These vents aren't just geological curiosities. They might just be a living link to our own origins, and maybe even a roadmap to life elsewhere in the cosmos. Thanks for joining this deep dive.